Hi, I'm Stu Kagan, and welcome to Born Scrappy, the podcast for scrap metal exporters and traders. Join me in conversation with some of the most experienced traders and operators that have helped shape this incredible industry. In today's episode, I'm joined by Elinor Feuer, the owner of Chilanga, a non-ferrous and dirty precious metals trading company. Elinor sits on the non-ferrous board at BIR and currently heads up the Swedish Association for Scrap Metal. In this episode, we discuss what it's like to have started in 2008, how to reduce risk and sleep at night, what it takes to go on your own, why you need grit, and so much more. Let's get straight into the episode with Elinor. But first, intro. Hey, Elinor, how are you?
I'm great, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very good, thank you. It's so good to have you on Born Scrappy, your Sunday evening. So thanks for making it happen on the weekend.
Of course. I'm all
Yeah,
excited.
awesome.
A
Yeah,
little
it's
bit
so
nervous.
good. I ran into you at BAR the other day, and we quickly were like, "When are we putting this together?" I wanted to get you on. You were like keen to get on as well. So it's 2 weeks later. Finished all the travel. I think jet lag's gone, hopefully for both of us, and yeah, now we can kick on. I'm really excited.
Yeah, let's hope so that there's no jet lag. We'll see.
Yeah, for some of us it was a little bit harder than others, right? Your time difference wouldn't have been too bad. Some of us had to move to another side of the world.
That's definitely true. But sometimes, 2 hours is more difficult than 8 or 12 hours because you don't realize it.
So it's that little bit. The little
Yeah,
bit is worse than when you actually are prepared for a massive time change.
exactly.
Oh my God, yeah, I'll let you get away with that one this time. But
Thank
yeah, I don't know about that in the future. So Elinor, tell us a little bit. Well, I know that you're on the board of the BIR, the non-ferrous board. You're the owner and managing director of Chilanga. I know also that you previously worked at EMR.
you.
Is that where you got started, or can you give us a bit of background on how you got started in the recycling world and what Chilanga is all about?
Yeah. No, I started working in August 2008, which you can imagine was the best
Oh,
time
wow.
to start working in
Wow.
for a Swedish company called Hans Andersson, which is now Remondis. So it's quite a big company now. I had my interview in June 2008, and they were selling a totally different story. It was more like champagne, everything is good, business is blossoming. And then when I started, it was more like I don't want to say guys crying on the phone, but it was a totally
Almost.
different sentiment.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. What a time to start.
Yeah, no, I think it was good. Better to start in bad times than in really good times because then that's what you know. So, yeah,
Well, the guys popping the champagne when you were having your first interviews for previous years had only seen the prices go up. So
exactly.
anybody who started in that period, I think we've spoken about it before on Born Scrappy, anybody who started in that period really struggled to get important lessons. So when you start around the 2008 mark, you learn those very, very quickly in the
Yeah,
deep
no,
end, they say.
I think that was good for me to understand that the
Yeah.
market is not always on top. So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly right. And what happened after that? Where did you progress through? And you moved around a little bit.
Yeah, so I was there for maybe 3 years, three and a half, working scrapyard, doing deals in business. And then I started at Roykema Recycling in Netherlands. I worked scrapyard there also. And then I was their purchaser in Scandinavia. So I drove around in Sweden, Finland, and a little bit in Norway, but I'd have to say mostly Sweden and Finland. And then I moved to EMR. And after 6.5 years with Roykim and EMR, I left to help a Swedish company down in the south here in Sweden to start up their purchasing and selling department. And I helped them with that. But that was quite short. I did that for 1.5 years, and then I started my own company together with a partner, which was Reviner, and I sold that one. And now I started Chilanga this year. Well, I've had Chilanga for a couple of years, but I started trading in Chilanga this year. So sometimes I struggled explaining it because Chilanga is totally new. I have 15
Mhm.
years experience in the business. I've been on my doing my own business since 2018. So yeah, it all comes together.
And I mean, Sri Lanka is you, really. So the experience in Sri Lanka is the 15 years that you have. What do you guys focus on in Sri Lanka? What products?
Non-ferrous and dirty precious metal scrap, which is maybe not what most other people do. But yeah, so the non-ferrous is my
Okay.
thing. And
Dirty precious metals. Tell us a little bit more, because there might be some people who are listening who have that and not sure what to do with it.
no, well, that's sludges, filters, solutions. I'm not
Okay.
buying like pure gold, but if you process if you have a production where you put in precious metals, you will get it out somewhere. And a lot
Mm,
of that material will, like, if they're unlucky, it might go just to wasteland or something like that. But
mm,
since if you know that there's palladium or silver or gold or the strange materials like iridium or ruthenium, then you might actually be able to get those out of the filters and sludges. And I work together with some companies who do that, so that's quite exciting, but very niche. So yeah.
yeah. They say the riches are in the niches. So I love that avenue. I like making sure that everybody knows, and that's why I asked that question. Make sure everybody knows that it's not just purely non-ferrous. Ferrous, there are other avenues as well.
Yeah,
So that's really cool, and that's a really exciting journey you've been on, and it sounds like it's quite holistic. You've learned from in the industry, you've seen the trading side, even on the precious metal side. So you've really got a good, I guess, idea of the whole industry,
I think that that's the thing. When I've been in different companies, I've had my own companies, and one of the things that I've learned is always things never turn out as you think. Like the things that I thought that I was good on and could focus on, that's not what I'm doing, because apparently I'm good at a lot of other things also. So that's what I'm focusing on. And you just have to go with the flow and realize that you have to do that, because not to get stuck on like, no, this is
Mm,
what I want to do, I need to do this. It's so much better to just like, oh, you want me to do that, okay, I'll do that. So
yeah, yeah, I love that. There's a great book by a guy, Ryan Holiday. It's called The Obstacle is the Way.
yeah,
And just on what you were saying now, it's quite important to allow the journey to happen. So sometimes you could get frustrated because, silly example, you get moved from non-ferrous, which is what you've always done, into ferrous, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, but non-ferrous has been my thing, or maybe into e-waste. Um, and often it actually could be the perfect journey for you,
yes.
but you don't realize it at the time because it seems frustrating that this is now an obstacle in your way. So I love that you've gone on that journey and you've kind of just gone with the flow. It can be a roller coaster, but you've got to go with it.
Yeah, but it's also what makes it fun and keeps it interesting, because it helps me develop. Otherwise I would
Mm,
just be stuck, and I'm not a stuck person, so that's good.
I love that. Um, Elinor, let's talk about a tough trade that you had to deal with in the past. You started in 2008,
Yeah.
so you would have seen a whole lot of tough trades as you got started. Give us some examples of something you've dealt with in the past.
Well, my first trade was maybe my toughest one, because the
Wow.
reason that I actually got the job was because I speak Spanish. I'm native Swedish speaking, but I've also lived in Mexico and Chile. So as a child, so I speak Spanish, and they needed someone who spoke Spanish because they were doing a lot of ferries to Spain, and
Mm,
also they wanted to start business in Central America. So that's why I was hired. So one of the first deals we do is we go to Venezuela and we have a meeting. It's a great company. Everything seems all right. It's actually a Brazilian company. So yeah, it all feels good. Not everyone speaks English. So I'm doing most of the talking. My boss is just like looking and okay, yeah, that's good. And we go back to Sweden, we exchange some emails, and eventually we close a deal of, I don't know, 100 tons of copper cable, ordinary cable, like 60%, nothing special. And I'm like, yes, I closed my first deal. I'm doing something. And we're booking the containers. We're like ready to load it out. And then Hugo Chavez, the president of Venezuela, goes like, everything in port belongs to me. I'm like, my cable.
You're like, no, Mr. President, except for the cable, right?
Yeah, it's like, but that's already a deal that's made. That's not part of it. It's really hard to gasp because I've already bought that cable. It should be mine.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, that was my first deal ever. Um,
What happened though? I mean, had you already paid for the material?
the the company that we bought from were really helpful. They were like really every day trying to get it out. It was not what they wanted either, so that was good. They were not part of it. But we had already sold it, so we had to like buy cable more expensive and sell to the buyer of that.
Right.
But eventually we got it out, I don't know, 8 or 9 months later. And because copper had gone up quite a lot, we still made good profit on it. But I would not recommend anyone to do something like that.
Yeah, and I don't even know what the lessons are you could learn from that, because that doesn't happen every day, right?
Well, the lessons are you have to also be aware of what countries you're in and what the politicians there might do. But those are the things that you cannot calculate on. That's a black swan for you.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, good luck getting through that one or having to go through that again. But I guess the fact that it ended positively is a really good note, with the copper going up and you still being able to get the material, and your supplier actually helping you get it out is helpful, because you could have them just going wiping their hands off it and saying, this isn't my issue. There's nothing I can do. It is what it is.
No, and because of what happened, it wasn't my fault. It wasn't the supplier's fault. And in that sense, it just becomes, okay, this is bad, but what can we do about it?
Yeah.
So I think that made it a little bit more relaxed.
Yeah, exactly, because you could work together and try and solve the problem.
Yeah.
But that's a tough trade. Definitely. That's a horrible trade, especially for your first one. But yeah, I guess the learnings were huge, and realizing very quickly everybody else around you has only seen the market climb. 2008 crashes. You now have your first trade. The president takes your material. You learned very, very quickly that it's not smooth sailing.
Yep.
So, Elinor, what tough decisions have you had to make in the past? I mean, that's a tough trade. Obviously, they're related to decisions as well. But are there any tough decisions that you've had to make that you can think of?
Yeah, well, tough decisions is we do that every day in some way. Are we making this deal? How do I feel about this? Am I going to make any money on it? Is this person trustworthy? And when it comes to trades, I think that's what we do. We do tough decisions every day, because also coming back, it's about like, you have to dare, you have to do it, and I think that's what I learned even with the Chavez thing, that you have to dare, because otherwise there's no win. Doesn't always turn out well, but and I think that comes down to all business. But I think like a tough decision was, of course, to leave a well-paid job and just jump in and start my own business. That's not what everyone does, and it's not for everyone.
Talk me through that, Elinor. You're talking my game. I absolutely love this part of the way we do things and entrepreneurship. So what went through your head? Was it a gut move? Was it a heart move? Was it a head move? I mean, what made you make that decision?
I think in one way it was easy because we were two people starting the business. It wasn't just me. And so, and he had experience from before starting up business, which made it easier for me to tag along. But it was my knowledge with the trading and the customers and suppliers that was going to be the business. So it was a great match bringing us together. Like he had all the contacts on the buying side and I had it on the sales side. But I think it was all those years because I worked, as I said, I've worked for a Dutch company. I worked for EMR, which is a British company, but I worked for the German department, but I was always on my own. And even when I worked for a company here, I was on my own. Like I had my colleagues in another city or in another country, which in fact meant that I was in a bit running my own business because I was doing everything, but I was doing it for someone else or with someone else, depending on how you look at it. And eventually I was like, I could probably take this knowledge and do it on my own. But to be honest, I don't think I would have done it on my own. So I'm happy that we got to do that journey together and start together. And that was a big support, that it was not just me.
Yeah,
While
absolutely.
now started up Chilanga, it's just me, but I've already done it one time. So now I feel a little bit better that, oh, well, it went well last time. It'll probably work this time also.
It's kind of, you did the progression, I guess.
Yeah.
So, and also what was really great that you said there was you were used to working on your own. You didn't come from a major corporate where there were, you were surrounded by 1,000 people and every single day you went into the office. You were used to actually being like a lone wolf, like an entrepreneur anyway. You were motivated to go out there and get deals by yourself. So moving and doing it for yourself made sense. Having somebody join you, handle the other side, which was the sales side, is really helpful massively. And then when you go and do it by yourself, you've just done it. So it's a great journey. And I like the idea of, it's kind of like hedging your bets. So you've kind of hedged it. You've gone, I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it with somebody else. And you didn't know at the time, but then moving on to the next stage, well, I've done it with somebody else. Now I'm going to go and do it by myself. It's a no-brainer. So no doubt you'll be doing some amazing things in the future as well. But on tough decisions, so where I thought you were going to go earlier was every day we make tough decisions. So that's no doubt, especially with the way the market is lately. So do you hedge everything or do you speculate at all? And I don't normally ask this, but I think you're doing your own thing. So tell me where you stand on
it. Well, that's a little bit part of my, how do you say? That's the way I do business. I put the risk on someone else and not on me. So
right. So you're always covered. So there's no way any market movement, nothing's going to affect you.
No,
right?
That's not true.
Okay.
That would make me amazing.
No, but there are ways. So the reason why I ask this is on LinkedIn, I see a lot of conversations often around whether you should hedge your currency. In fact, I hear a lot of people that don't hedge their currency. I see a lot of time people might sell on a formula and not actually cover the commodity. For me, from the company that I was in South Africa, a really large company, we had rules around that, and we absolutely always hedged our position. So we were always fully covered. But some people don't necessarily do that. So I'm interested to hear, because you're an entrepreneur, you're doing your own thing, you get to make your own decisions now. Okay, is there a middle ground?
Yeah, no, I'll give you a better answer, but it's still part of what I do. I'm moving the risk to to the supplier, but it also comes down to, because they're two different things. You can hedge the metals and you can hedge the exchange rate, and we have the Swedish kroner in Sweden, so I buy most of my scrap in Swedish kroner, and I sell it in euro or dollars.
Yes.
So that's where I face the biggest risk. and I don't hedge it.
Well, that's what I was about to ask you. So there's no risk if you wanted to just hedge it.
I do hedge it when I know that when the payment is coming in, because you do deals where you have like, okay, I know payment is coming in 3 months or whatever. Then sometimes I hedge it, depending on what mood I'm in. I go with my mood. Not always the best way to do business, but I also think, and I talk a lot with my suppliers about this. If you are trading regularly, in the end, it will all add up, because I see that I earned a lot of money sometimes on the exchange rate, and sometimes I'm losing on the exchange rate. It's just about balancing those out, and also, of course, realizing if you're taking too much of a risk, then you have to hedge it.
So I was always taught it swings and roundabouts. Yeah. So it's what gets you this time will make you the next time. So that's your strategy. And on the commodity side, do you cover all of that?
No, because usually I have a fixed price.
Okay, on both sides.
Yeah, and if I don't have a fixed price, it's usually in dollars or euros that I'm buying also. So.
Okay, got you. So usually your commodity is fixed, so you don't actually have to hedge the commodity, which makes it a little bit easier. Then you don't actually have any risk. You take your margin off that, then it's just your currency that you have to worry about. Yeah. Okay, makes sense. Sorry, there was a bit of a deeper dive in there, but I was interested to hear your opinion, because a lot of the people we chat to don't run their own book. They're working for another company, and therefore the decisions are often already made for them. So it was interesting to see.
And I don't think that not hedging is for everyone. It also depends on how good sleep you want to have at night, because
I was about to say that it's not for everybody. It depends on whether you like to sleep or not. It's quite simple.
Yeah.
That sums it up quite nicely then.
Yeah. So
that's great. Elinor, tell me now, I always like to talk about collaboration.
Yeah.
People helping other people in the industry. I talk about it being hyper-local. We're not really competing with each other. How have you used collaboration to grow your business or to grow your own career in the past?
In a way, I like that you were asking this, and I've also understood where you want to go with these questions, because I've listened to your podcast. But also in a way, I mean, isn't that what business is all about? Collaborations and working together. For me, that's it. That's my business. And I love it. I love the connections that I have and all the relationships that I'm building. And it's not only, of course, suppliers and customers. And you also know we call all of them customers, but to make it clear, if you're not in scrap, it's suppliers and customers.
Yeah.
They are, of course, the most important people that I have to work with, but I also have to work with the logistic companies. When I was in other companies, not on my own, the administration side is so important to work with and have a good relationship with them. And the finance department, my finance department now, like, you have to have all these different bricks that you bring together to make it work. And that's, you said, what brought you to start your own company? Well, this is what I've been doing for at least the last 12 years, putting all these bricks together and making business happen. So that's what I do. That's what I love, because the relationships is what I love. Because you have to, there's no fun if you don't, or not even fun. You're not able to do your job if you don't have people supporting you. Yeah,
absolutely. And you're also a member of the board, though, right? Of the non-ferrous board of the BAR. That's a form of collaboration too.
It is. I'm also, forgot to mention that, I'm also the head of the Swedish Scrap Association.
That's a perfect example of collaboration. You're working with an association, you're working with other businesses in the industry on a day-to-day basis. So yeah, you didn't mention that, but that's very good to know.
Yeah. So no, I feel I feel also I've been in the business for a while now. It's 15 years. I'm celebrating 15 years.
Mm.
So it's there are people that I can call when I have a problem, even though I'm on my own. People are like, "Aren't you
Mm.
lonely?" No, I speak with my suppliers and customers all the time. I'm not lonely.
Yeah,
I'm so happy
yeah.
sometimes to just be on my own in front of the computer. Um, but also, if I have problems, there are people I can call. I have people I can call and be like, "Look, I have this material. It was
Mm.
rejected. I need to put it somewhere. Can I put it on your yard?"
Mm.
It's it's all about having the people that you can call and have being able to call like your forwarder and saying, "Look, I need a truck tomorrow, and you know I don't ask for this a lot. So usually I'm pretty chill about that." And they're like, "Okay, we'll get you a truck." So it's more like I've worked together with people and I know who to call and who I can
Mm.
trust, and people are helpful. Let's really
Mm.
understand that. People like to help. And
I
someone
think,
gave me an advice once that
oh,
sometimes you should ask for small favors, because then when you ask for big favor, they don't realize that it's big.
yeah, yeah, they think it's just another small one.
Yeah.
But it also depends, right? Elinor, you've gone through 15 years, you've built these relationships. So a lot of people starting out, um, especially, somebody was telling me at the BAR the other day about these young bucks, and I'm sure I was one of them, right? You start out, you think you know everything, you have to win on every single trade, you have to try and pull every single cent of margin out of it so the other person loses. You have that attitude very early on. The problem is that's going to come back to bite you usually. So when you upset the other party, it's a small industry, and there will come a time where you will run into the other party again or need their help. So it's really important that we early on think about collaboration and think about relationships.
Oh, that's so true. It is such a small business. It's you see people like me changing, going through to different companies. You have other people who do the same. You have people who stay at the same, but they have different roles. You never know when you're going to run into someone again. So,
Mm.
and that's what I mean, collaborations and relationships. That's what it all comes down to. It comes down to the people. And let's be honest, everyone is not going to like you, but just be yourself and try to at least get them to respect you, because
Mm.
yeah, you can't. And maybe that's also comes with age and 15 years of experience, but not everyone is going to like you, but at least they can respect you.
Yeah, I
But they
agree.
can only do that if you respect them.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, Eleanor, tell me in your 15 years, what would you consider to be your highlight in that 15 years? And what do you think got you there?
Grit.
Okay, love it. Great
um
word.
no, but if it's coming back to making hard decisions and not being scared, also putting myself out there. It's the
Mm.
first months when I was traveling around in Sweden buying scrap, they were not that good, because I hadn't learned that maybe I should make a route planning. I was just booking meetings and being like, yeah, he wants to have a meeting and he wants to have a meeting. I'll go there. And then you're like, oh, I have to drive all night because Sweden is amazingly big. So it's not like it's
Right.
just that the scrap yards are next door. It's like, yeah, it's a 6 hour drive to that scrap yard.
Yeah.
And eventually you start planning, you start using your time. Maybe you start sleeping at a little bit better hotels because you know that that gives you sleep instead of laying awake and wondering if someone's going to break in. So it's those are like, how do you say, those are the things that you need in the background to make it happen.
Mm. Mm.
But it's also like staying there, making the progress. It was difficult, and also making the cold calls. It's not really
Mm.
fun making a cold call and saying, hey, I want to come visit and see your scrapyard and buy your scrap. But you
Yeah.
do it and you do it again, and then you do it again, and then they're like, oh, you're here again, you can buy some scrap. It's
Mm.
And that's what I mean with the grit. You just keep on doing it.
Yeah.
And it's not always, and especially when you start something new, if it's a new company or if it's new profession, whatever, you have to give it some time, because even as you say, you think that you know it all, but you don't.
Yeah.
You have to get to know it
Yeah.
all, and people have to get to know you, and you have to
Mm.
figure out what works and doesn't. So I think sometimes it's about not giving up. And
I think it's
that's,
always about not giving up.
yeah, but maybe that's not the highlight.
Yeah, but that's what got you to running your own company, having the opportunity to move from a large company to set up your own, and then or set up your own with somebody, and then go on your absolute own now. But
Yeah.
that grit to me is, go back to cold calling. I did a lot of it. And when you cold call, if you look at it a no, so when somebody gives you a no as a come back next time with a better proposition instead of a no,
Hmm.
you cannot give up. Owner operators and middle processors are busy. So just getting in that door the first time can be so hard. Like those phone calls you say you make those phone calls, and you're lucky if they even answer the phone, right? So if they answer the phone, then you try and get through that, and they say, no, I'm not interested. I've already got somebody I sell to, or give me a price, and then we'll see whether you can visit or not. It's about that no is come back with a better proposition next time. If you look at it like that, you're learning the whole way. It's not just, oh, that door's closed, move on to the next thing, because then you'll never learn.
No.
And I think if you learn during that period, you will grow. And that's where grit is absolutely so important to get anywhere in your career.
It is. And that actually, it comes down to, as you're also saying, to the highlight. When we started Ravinner, we were profitable from day one because we had done the job. We'd done the work before. We knew what we were doing. So that's still a highlight, that bringing all that together after 10 years and starting your own company and being profitable from day one without external finance. So yeah.
Yeah. So I've got a great quote that I love, and it is success is a terrible teacher. And why I love that is, if let's just go back to your 2008, you arrived and the markets crashed. But up until then, anything you bought, you made money on. Even if you bought it at a loss on the day, if you held it for 3 weeks, you would make money because the market was consistently going up. So
Yes.
you didn't really learn during that period. And then if you went and you thought, oh, I'm amazing, look how good I am, and you went and started your own company, and all of a sudden the market turned, you'd be ready to give up because you've never experienced this before. You didn't know how to handle that sort of period. So when you in any industry or in any business, when things are going bad, I think if you can consider what your learning is during that time and saying this is going to benefit me in the future. It's hard at the time, don't get me wrong. I've been through it, and everybody does. It's hard to see that, but if you can see that wood from the trees and go, in the future, these lessons are going to be very, very important for me, you will get very far. Throw in a bit of grit there to make sure you get through those times and push on. I think you come out great, a much better person and more experience on the other side.
I think that you're totally right with that. And it's important to remember also for all the new traders that when when these older people say that, yeah, but in 2000, in the beginning of the 2000, we were making so much money. Yeah, but it wasn't difficult, was it?
Exactly. Elinor, I was told at the BAR that the young traders don't actually listen to Born Scrappy. This is from somebody in a company who has about 20 traders in the company. And they said they've sent it out to all the traders for them to listen, right, to get experience and learn from people that have much more experience. And they said it was quite funny that none of the young traders were willing to listen to it, but all of the ones with more experience listened to Born Scrappy. Isn't that just like, it's exactly what we're talking about, the young bucks. We know everything. I think their time will come, and they'll get some learnings, and then maybe they'll come to the podcast and have a listen from everybody else or learn from everybody else.
Yeah, but that's a strange attitude. Like, I think that you have to be humble enough, but you also have to have what's the word? You have to have self-esteem to still think that you belong next to all those old traders and all those. So you have to have them both and combine them and like, okay, I don't know anything, but that doesn't make me any less of a person than these guys who've been around
Yep.
forever. Because there's a difference in that.
I agree 100%. They've all, and it's a good way of thinking about it as a young buck. And I was one of them. I remember being a trader for, one of the largest metal recyclers in Africa and going to the BAR and thinking a lot of myself. But I like the way you explain it, because it's a really good way of thinking, is that you are you don't have the experience of these others, but you're still able to hold your own. And I think that's important because they were there too. So if you look around at the 50, 67-year-olds that have all this experience, and you don't have to be insecure around them, I think it's more of a respect thing, that you go, I respect them because they've been through it. However, when I look back, they were once 25 or 30 years old, where I am now, not me now, but the way I was. And they got through it and they learned and they went through this. So I can hold my own, and at the same time respecting their experience that they have.
But
But
how
there's
do you
a
feel
fine
about
line between arrogance
exactly?
and that.
But one of the things that you're bringing up here is that you and me, we're now seniors. That's not really nice. It's like, yeah, I'm a senior trader. Okay, really?
I don't know if I consider myself senior. Maybe you're just talking about yourself, Elinor. I'm still one of the
No.
young bucks. I was at the Young Traders event the other day at the BMR. I got invited to the Young Traders. Yes, I was the oldest person there, but that's not the point. I'm just yes,
Exactly.
we are senior traders now. I kind of like it. A little bit more experienced. I have a passion for giving back. It's kind of where Born Scrappy comes from. Um, I love mentoring. If I'm able to, as in if somebody thinks that any information that I have could help them, wherever I can take somebody under my wing, I gain from that just as much as I hope they gain from it. So I do kind of like being a little bit more experienced and a little bit senior. How
It
do you
is.
feel about it?
No, it's true. It's a little bit like you're saying. I'm ready to share. Who
Mm.
wants to know?
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? It comes across quite strongly in the interviews that I do on Born Scrappy, that the senior people in our industry actually do want to help the next generation. We do want to share. So, once again, if you are a young trader or whatever, and you're looking for, reach out to the people I interview, reach out to me. I can make introductions for you as well. But feel free to get hold of us because we do want to share.
Yeah,
Hmm.
because it makes our business better.
Exactly right. 100%. Elinor, let's kick on with the questions. Otherwise, we're going to run out of time. We're having way too much fun here. Can you give any tips for exporters? So you've been on the ground as well, working for metal recyclers. So what should they be doing to help optimize their trade strategy?
Who are you asking? The
I'm asking
buyers or the
you, but
sellers?
I'm asking about sellers. So metal recycling processes. So if they've got a shredding yard, if they've got non-ferrous production, whatever they have, you're buying from them, right? And you're then selling to the melters around the world. How do they optimize their strategy? So it could be things like, silly things. Get more weight in their container, process, bale more or buy better processing equipment, whatever it might be, oversee your quality, train your people better on quality, uh, anything like that these guys tips that they can get to help benefit their business.
I think that all what you said are perfect, but I also think that sometimes they have to step out of this is the way that we've always done it. We have buyers for our material, so we are not looking for anyone else. They know our material, so we don't need to do any changes. And both you and I know we've already mentioned it that you only have so much time and they are busy with other things. So I understand that they can't jump on every new opportunity and try to mix their material differently all the time. But a little bit more openness to do that would probably benefit them, the business, and the market.
Mm. Okay, so then touching on that, what should a processor do or supplier of yours do or consider when they're bringing on a new buyer? So we're saying be open-minded enough to speak to new buyers, but what should they focus on? What should they be careful of when they are speaking to new buyers?
Trust their instincts.
More than
Sometimes
that.
I trusted mine more. Like sometimes they're totally right, and you should realize that. But it also comes back to what we said. Ask around. What do other people think about this buyer? What have you heard? Also, Google is your friend. You can learn a lot from Google because you find reviews, you find the things that people write. You can even get some financial information. But I would say ask around with people that you trust, but don't always rely on that, because you never know. Maybe you and we had a bad deal, and you're like, yeah, well, Elinor, she's nice and all that, but I wouldn't do business with her. But eventually that may not be true for someone else. So you also have to trust your guts and see what you're feeling.
I think references are hugely important. I was also going to say, don't ask other buyers, because if you're already selling to somebody and you say, how's Elinor? They say, oh no, she's terrible. You shouldn't sell to her. Sell everything to me. So
Yeah, but
I think choose your references carefully.
Then you know.
Yeah, absolutely. If another buyer tells you that another buyer is good, yeah, you pretty much should sell to
No,
them.
but it's I asked one of my colleagues that when I was working at a company, and I was like, well, they are asking if they should do business with this company. And what do you say? And the answer was like, are they a friend of us? So we should tell them the truth, or should we just say do the business? So you're absolutely right.
Yeah. How have you seen the industry change in your 15 years? And what do you think it's going to look like in 10 years' time?
I think when I started, it was maybe more money driven than it is today. It's still money driven. We do business. We're not doing this because it's all fun and that we don't want to make money. But I see that the environmental issues and sustainability is a much bigger thing. I'm an environmental economics, so I'm happy about it. I combine those two. Now I combine it doing business in sustainability. It's like the best thing. No, but
I love the passion.
I see that people are we have more problems because we have to watch out for more things because of environmental issues, laws, and regulations. But since we're also business, is it only businessmen? Can you say business people to make it more like
Yeah,
gender
absolutely. You
neutral?
can say business people. Yeah.
Also business people. It's we also have realized how we can spin the sustainability. So you see more companies, they're not only providing a service and giving you the best price for the scrap, they are also doing a sustainable act. They're showing you how much emissions you're saving. So it's moving to being not only a trade where you're exchanging money to becoming more of a service where you're also providing something to make the world a better place, which we were already doing. So the good thing is that for us, it's not greenwashing or trying to explain something and just putting it on paper. We were doing it before it was trendy to be sustainable. We've been sustainable since forever.
Yeah.
But we're also selling that now. We were not selling that when I started. And I think that's amazing because we should be selling it. I would like the whole world to know what we're doing because we're doing such a good job.
I agree 100%. I was chatting to John Sacco just the other day, and we were talking about, if we've got 10,000 metal recycling businesses around the world, instead of relying on the associations or a few companies to make a noise, if every single one of those 10,000 were posting on social media about the good that we do, that would, make a lot more noise for our industry in a positive way than relying on the association. So, yeah, I agree with you completely. We've definitely done better. We can do much more.
Yeah.
And in the next 10 years' time, is that what you're expecting, that there'll be a lot more of that noise or any other changes?
No, but focus is shifting. There will be new technology. You will have new and amazing process with AI. All those kinds of cool things are coming in. You will also have even more environmental regulations and trade laws, and we just have to survive that. But you also see shifts in the market, like in Sweden, you have 2 big projects for building fossil-free fuel. And that means that Sweden might go from a net exporter of scrap to a net importer because they're going to need so much material. And I think that we're going to see that in a lot of places, that material will take different ways. There will be maybe not new industries, but because of new processes, you will have it in different places. So there will be shifts. Let's put it like that.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of change in that way.
Yeah, well, because one of the reasons that they're putting these big projects in Sweden is because of the clean and green energy. So, and I think that you're also going to see that because energy is also going to be a challenge for us. So it's all these things coming together, and we could look at it all as challenges, but challenges are opportunities. So, yeah.
Exactly what I was going to say. So the ability to roll with the punches. So when something gets, hit at you, when something happens, being able to look at the opportunity in it is going to be very important over the next 10 years. I think that's where the opportunities are going to be when there's a change made. Look at it as an opportunity, and I think lots of possibilities for sure. Exactly. Who are the people in the industry that you're watching out for over the next 10 years?
Well, you have all the big guys who are leading the way and doing a good job. But for me, it's also all these mid-sized companies. Maybe that's because I'm head of the Swedish Scrap Association, but I see it at the BIR also. It's not only the big guys, also the mid-size. The knowledge that they possess and the things that they are doing, because they can also act faster. They can move in different way. Like when I make my visits, when I visit my suppliers and learn what they're doing and thinking about doing, that's impressive because they're like, I don't know, they're 5 people, but they're running like 10,000 people company. They're doing the same things. It gives me so much energy. I'm not going to single anyone out, but in that sense, I'm like, this is the whole business that we are in, but also it's not only the big guys. Also, the small guys are driving this change, and
I love it. I love that. I love the small to medium players. For me, to watch what they're doing, not only is it that they can move faster, but theirs actually takes often a lot more skill and strategy because they don't have the same budget as the biggest players. So to watch what they're doing is refreshing, it's motivational, it's inspirational. When they're going, I've only got this size budget, I'm going to spend it on X. There's a lot to learn from that because they've done their homework and they've gone, that's what's going to go and make some change over the next 10 years for me. I love watching that at play. Often you've got to look at the context of their industry, of where they are, their regions. But if you look at that and you take that all into account, there's so much learning that's to be had for your own business if you watch the small to medium. That's, I guess, if you have a small to medium business, which I think the majority of people do.
For me, it's sometimes like, oh, I'd like to work here. I want to support you in this. What can we do? It's so much fun, and it's it's truly amazing and impressive, and it gets me. Yeah, I'm impressed.
Inspired.
Yes,
nice,
very much so.
Nice. So, Elinor, we're running out of time. We had a lot of fun going in all different places, which we don't normally go, which is great.
Is that good?
No, it's very good. I love it. Before we go, let's get to know Elinor a little bit more. So, favorite, I'm sure you've seen these before, but favorite TV series or movie?
I've understood that no one watches TV and when I listen to the podcast. No one. Okay. Good for you guys. You're working all the time. No.
Also very surprised. Yeah.
I'm really fond of like British crime series, also
Oh,
Swedish crime
cool.
series. It's more like, yeah, it gets me relaxed. It keeps me interested, so I don't have to like check my emails all the time. But
Mm.
and it could happen, so it's not science fiction, so it's not that. But yeah, I like
Yeah,
it.
cool. Awesome. Favorite place to visit?
My parents had a summer house on the west side of Sweden, so the west coast of Sweden, best place ever. But
Wow.
also because I lived in Chile, the Atacama Desert, it's the coolest place on earth. I love it.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. And your favorite book?
Well, I read a lot of crime also, but my my favorite book
Okay.
is actually To Kill a Mockingbird. I love
Oh,
that.
very good. Classic.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
very classic. Usually I'm not very fond of the classics, but that one, I don't know if
Mm.
I read it at a good age, but
Mm.
yeah, I love it.
So can we just assume that if Elinor wasn't in metal recycling, she would be a detective?
No,
On the other side, would you be a criminal?
probably
You're on
not.
one side. You got to choose because
Those are the
that's
only
where your
options
interests
that
are.
I have. No, I love doing business. That's what I love.
Okay. Okay. Just checking.
Yeah.
And do you have a favorite quote?
Um, well, I could just tell you what I have written on my screen, my on my phone,
Yes.
which is a
Absolutely.
quote from Winston Churchill. So, and it's a little
Right.
bit sad, but you have to look at it on the bright side. So it's like if you're going through hell, keep on going.
Okay.
And
Okay.
that's the thing. Like we've also discussed, business is not always fun and games.
Mm.
It's tough decisions and difficult times, and sometimes you make the wrong decisions. But tomorrow
I've
it
told
doesn't
many people. I've told many people that quote.
matter.
When people are going through hard times, that's exactly what you have to do. You have to keep going, and that's where you spoke about grit earlier. So it was a
Yeah,
great way to finish on that quote. I think it's sad because, but it's realistic, right? I mean, that's people are often going through tough times, and yeah, just keep going.
yeah. But it's difficult to hear when you're going through the tough times.
Oh,
But
100%, absolutely. Eleanor, thank you so much. That's been heaps of fun. Loved it. We went on a fun journey all over the place, and everybody got to know you a little bit better and know that you're a bit of a detective as well. Well,
I'm
that's
not.
where your interests are. Okay, that's where your interests are.
I just
Um,
Google.
Google. Okay, and yeah, looking forward to speaking to you again at the next BAR.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing you. And it's close to
Awesome.
home, Copenhagen.
Yeah, exactly. We'll be there. Thanks, Eleanor.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.